They told you strength was a clenched fist, a battle won. Then they called it toxic. They told you to conquer the world with your own two hands. Then they told you to apologize for it. And amidst that confusion, a different kind of journey begins, one you never trained for. And in that moment, you're told strength is walking away. That strength is silence. At Vitae Foundation, our latest research uncovers a hidden truth. 1 in 5 men in this country has been impacted by abortion. And while the world tells those men to feel nothing, our research shows that for many, one feeling stands out: regret. A silent grief for a voice they never heard, a child they never held. But true courage isn't toxic. It's what you felt all along. That instinct deep within. A man is made to step up, to protect, to lead, to trade the battlefield for bedtime stories, to find his purpose not in the roar of the crowd, but in the quiet of a cradle. Because this was never her mountain to climb alone. They told you strength was the final round, the last fight, or on the highest peak. But true courage grabs a small hand and refuses to let go. And pure adventure is forged in the heart of a family. Real fortitude is stepping up and building a legacy that truly echoes for generations.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited about this next interview. The Vitae Foundation has been such a tremendous foundation that I've been working with. I've been able to have the pleasure of speaking at multiple events from the Vitae Foundation, and it is one of those organizations that you know are just doing the right thing with research when it comes to the pro-life movement. And I am honored to interview, and I know her already, so it's no surprise. She's an incredible woman. The president and CEO of the Vitae Foundation, Brandy Meeks. Brandy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with all of you.
Yeah, and I wish that people had a chance to know you or experience hanging around you as much as I have, because you're such a great, authentic, genuine person. And what you guys do at the Vitae Foundation is just, there's nothing like it. The fact that you guys primarily focus on the research that people need to understand in order for us to be effective in the pro-life movement. But I want you to tell my audience a little bit of kind of what you guys do at the Vitae Foundation, why you decided to lead such an incredible organization.
I would love to. So thank you for the opportunity, because the thing is that we do research about the pro-life issue specifically. And research is pretty amazing in itself, but it's not the kind of research that you might typically think of when you are, rolling this over in your mind. So there are a lot of groups that do great research like survey and polling that really help us understand after people have made decisions, maybe what decisions that they have made. Those are great, but our research is different. Our research focuses on the emotional impact, the emotions that dictate how a person is deciding between different consumer decisions. And whether we like it or not, abortion is a consumer decision. And so we take what we learn and we turn that into messaging strategies so that we're able to connect with the audience that we're trying to reach and help build a culture of life. It's a little bit different than other pro-life organizations. I like to say, like, we pro-life differently than others, and that's great. Like, we all have a niche, but this is what our niche is. We desire to understand the emotional motivators behind the decisions that people make.
And I think this is probably the most important aspect of it, because a lot of times people like to look at just raw numbers. And to be honest, behind all of the decisions comes an emotion. And especially because there's young women who are involved who are young, they got a lot of pressure, and there's an emotional decision to say, you know what, I think that I can't continue with this pregnancy. And I love that you guys are multifaceted in the approach, because you not only understand, or at least do the research on how women are feeling, but also the impact of men. So I want you to talk about that a little bit, because I have my own story, and you guys know I talk about it at the Vitae Foundation of how, I had an unplanned pregnancy situation with my oldest son, and how that all turned out. And I think that a lot of times the success of him being born and us going through with it was because of my involvement in it. And I want you to talk to us a little bit about the research that you found related to that.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's go back just a little bit. I think it's important for us to mention that, originally in the pro life movement, we did a really great job of focusing on the baby, the humanity of the child, being able to make sure that people understood what was really at risk with this innocent human being that's formed in the womb. And then we really shifted as a movement to focus on women. We understood that she is a decision maker in this equation and that we needed to make sure that we spoke to her about her. That she didn't feel like when you said choose life, in her mind, our research has shown that she's feeling like whose life? Mine, the life that I knew, the life that I planned on, or this child that I'm carrying, right? And so that's been the shift that's happened within the movement. And as we were examining this and understanding how to change the culture, because again, it's so much different than just trying to um, operate from a political standpoint with this decision making. I think it's really important to note that we will never regulate or govern abortion out of people's hearts and minds. And so, if we want to connect with people's hearts and minds on this issue and truly change the culture, we have to look at all the people that are part of this equation. And in this case, you have the baby that I talked about earlier, and then we shifted to focus on the women. And now it has become abundantly clear that we need research, we need an understanding, we need messaging that focuses on men. And no one knows this better than the abortion industry because guys that are listening right now, I have to tell you, it has been their game plan to eliminate men from this equation. I have worked with former abortion workers for years, helped rescue them from the abortion industry when I was working with Abby Johnson's ministries. And these former abortion workers will tell you that they did unthinkable things to
Mm.
try to keep men from coming to the appointment, supporting the woman, tried to get him out of the waiting room by turning the heat up in the waiting room so he would leave. Guys, they have targeted you to try to take you out because they know that you are the most influential person in this decision when it comes to a woman deciding that she will carry this child.
And I like to, and I'm glad you said that because I think it's important. Even now, when I go around the country and I talk and advocate for pro-life movements, these Planned Parenthoods, they do not allow men in, which is crazy because if a young woman is going in there to, they rarely want to just give you information and help you with your pregnancy. I think they have one goal, and that's to help you eliminate your parenthood.
Absolutely.
And so, now young men can't even go in. And a lot of times, young women, from your research and what we've talked about, is that young women are relying on a support system. And if they can isolate a young woman in there and make her make emotional decisions on her own, and as if he's not a part of this,
Mhm.
it can be incredibly detrimental.
Absolutely. And also, culture has conditioned both men and women to think that the compassionate thing to say when a woman is experiencing an unexpected pregnancy and she tells you is that you're supposed to say, you'll probably hear it before you even say it, I'll support you no matter what you choose. That's what society has told us we're supposed to say. But in reality, in our past studies, even pro-abortion women who have told their partners that they're pregnant will tell you that they resent that response. And guys, it's because it's a passive answer. Because basically, what it does is takes all the responsibility and puts it back on her shoulders. So she has to carry this weight alone. And she resents that, whether she's pro life or pro abortion. And so many young men, especially, have been conditioned to think that this is what they're supposed to say because they've heard my body, my choice. They've heard that you have no say in this issue. In fact, that was one of the findings from our research study on men. And in all reality, it's not shocking, right? When we share it with people and we say, hey, one of the findings is that men feel like that women are the decision makers and have final say on this issue, and the decision is up to them. Well, Brandon, that's a problem. The fact that we are not shocked by that finding is the issue, right? Because men are absolutely half of this equation. Men are it's 50% your DNA. It is part of you, right? And so again, men have been conditioned to think I'm supposed to say I'll support you no matter what you choose. And in many cases, we heard men in these interviews say, well, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right, and I think that's a shame, and I'm glad that we can start bringing more awareness to this. And one thing I will say too is for the young men out there, like you got to take responsibility at some point, and it's that if you made the decision that you're gonna lay down with a young lady, whether you liked her or not, whether it was one night or not, whether you remember her or not, none of that matters. What matters is if when you lay with a young lady and she says that she's pregnant, you have to put your big boy pants on and say, I'm going to take the responsibility seriously. I may not have to be in a relationship with this woman, but I'm going to do my part in the baby that I created. And I would argue that young men should say, and to really mean it, that I'm going to support you and I'm going to be there for my child from start to finish, no matter what. And if young men will do that more, and you don't have to have it all figured out, Brandy, right? I mean, even what I
That's right.
say in my story, you don't have to have it all figured out. I was 22 years old. I was broke. I was just fresh out of college. I mean, I think my son's mom was pregnant when we were in college. So, I mean, I was making
Mhm.
scholarship checks at $1,000 a month. And that's not even including my phone bill and everything else I had to take care of. So I could have easily had the excuse to say, well, I don't have the money. Or the embarrassment that I felt like I was going to feel by being exposed, right? I mean, I was in church. I'm doing all this. I'm in the choir. I'm Mr. Brandon. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. And
Mhm.
I had and I wanted to save face in my heart. I was like, I can't tell my pastor I did this. Like, if she just have an abortion, and all of it go away and I can start over and nobody else know. And I'm still perfect. My image is still good. But at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I got to be a man and take responsibility, and I got to go through with this, and I need to do my part.
Right, because fathers are the most influential person in that mother's life. Full stop, right? And men, we need you. We need you to not be passive on this issue. And again, something to think about, they may not have considered. Women aren't telling their partner that they're pregnant unless they're looking for support.
Right.
They're looking for affirmation. They're looking for those words that you just said. That's what they're looking for. Because if they wanted to just go and get an abortion, they would just go get it on their own.
Right.
They don't need a man to have an abortion. In fact, it kind of complicates things, right? For a young woman once she tells him, because he might then take a stand. So if she's telling you, it's because she wants you to step up. She wants you to take the lead. And in fact, I think it's really important that we also take in, this is a little bit of a soapbox for me, so I apologize ahead of time, but I think you're okay with it. Here's the key here. This was a study that we did based upon trying to understand more about masculinity as well. Because as a culture, men have been stripped of their masculinity. When I said damned if you do and damned if you don't earlier, it's because men feel like they don't have a say in this issue. They feel like they're supposed to sit down, shut up, because women, the feminist movement have shouted them down with that.
Mm.
But I'm here to tell you that were created to be complementary. We were never meant to be in competition.
Mm.
Men are naturally wired as protectors. Women are naturally wired as nurturers. And guys, there is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that women can't lead. Strong woman here, leading a team of about 30 out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Like, it just means that we lead differently, and that's okay. Right. And I think that it's time that we lean into our strengths, but more importantly, guys, this is what I need you to hear. So many men will say, I personally wouldn't choose abortion, but I don't want to make that decision for someone else. Okay. I need you to hear me. Strong woman here. We need you to protect us, and we certainly need you to protect our children. Right. And so please hear my heart when we're sharing that. That's part of how we reclaim masculinity as men and women. That's how we support as well, because we have the opportunity. We are on the cusp of something amazing. We see that there's a movement happening where men are stepping into those leadership roles, and guess what? Women want that. Women, we have to raise our standards as well to say, yes, we want strong men to lead us, not in a domineering way, but in a way of like trust. We trust you. We trust you to do the right thing, and we trust you to take a stand for life.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, Brandy. I mean, that's the most important. I think that a lot of men have taken the back seat out of fear. You know, they're getting everything you do is toxic masculinity. If you're to tell
Mhm.
a young woman like, no, I think I want you to keep the baby. I will take care of my child. Like this is, I don't agree with this situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna just be passive and let you just say whatever you want to say. I do have a say in this, or at least I demand that I have a say in it. And I think a lot of people think that that's toxic, when in reality, it's like, no, man, y'all got to stop being weak. Y'all got to stop being passive all the time. It bothers me, Brandy, and I know I'm speaking for myself. I mean, I know I can speak for myself on this. You may agree with it, but it bothers me when I see people doing the protests and stuff at these anti-life events, and I see men going, "It's her body, her choice. Why do you have anything to say about it?" It's like, wait a minute, man. Like, some of you guys are fathers. What do you mean? That's a daughter. That's somebody's daughter, and every man, father, should be protective of their daughter, just like you're somebody's sister. These young women are somebody's sister. Every young boy or man should be protective of his sister. Somebody's wife, somebody's, women aren't just living in this world in an autonomous way. There's a lot of men that are responsible and a lot of men that care and have the duty to support women. But here's another thing, Brandy. What do you say to young women that believe that it's just a clump of cells? It doesn't even matter. I deserve the right to take a life if I want to. What is your approach, based on your research? What's the best way that somebody can get to a person that has their mind made up that it doesn't matter, this baby means nothing?
Hmm.
I know I
It
got
is
to
a
put
tough.
you on the spot on that one, but
It's okay.
what's your
It's
thoughts
okay.
on that?
So we've done research before in the past to understand when she is in what we call that now moment. So when she is making that decision, how to best reach her. And in that moment, again, I mentioned this earlier, but we have to talk to her about her. Um, Motherhood in her mind is a bridge too far for her in that point. And so just shaming or guilting her into wanting to parent this baby is not going to work. And so we have to lean in to grace, and we have to lean into compassion and to build a bridge with her. And one of the best ways to do that, and I know you love these guys as well, are pregnancy centers
Mhm.
all around the country. They are doing amazing work. I was a former pregnancy center director, so they will always have my heart. I was up north of Kansas City, Missouri for several years, and we saw miracles take place. So what we have to do is as supporters of life is we need to know where our local pregnancy centers are. We need to know what kind of support is available, because again, they're being sold this bill of goods that the "I'll support you no matter what you choose" nonsense is a compassionate response.
Mhm.
Okay. And for so long, let's just face it, this is not the only issue where we've been told to be like, oh, be compassionate, right? Like, affirm them and what they're doing. And if they want to be a man, let them be a man. If they want to be a girl, let them be a girl. Like, this nonsense, right? Okay. This is fake compassion as well when you say, "I'll support you no matter what you choose." Do you know what real compassion looks like, friends? It looks like, you know what? I'm going to help you find a local pregnancy center that can help you with some diapers. I'm going to help you babysit so that you can finish college, right? I'll watch the kiddo while you go to school at night, or while you're waiting on tables so that you can bring in income for your family. It looks like connecting them with a local pregnancy center. It looks like real, tangible help. It looks like, hey, I'll help you pay your rent.
Mhm. Yeah.
It looks like real help, right? You've been there.
Yeah, I've been there. I'd never forget John, who helped us pay our rent. He did it for a whole year, and that those things. This is why I love what you guys do. Is the approach of compassion. I think a lot of times people think blunt force is how you convince young women, or
Hmm.
shaming them is how you think you convince them, and that's just barbaric. It's like I told myself this a long time ago. I would never in my life go to a pregnancy center or go to a Planned Parenthood and protest outside and tell a woman how terrible she is and how she's going to hell and how she's a murderer if I'm not willing to help that woman tangibly. Like, no, I'm going to tell you, hey, young lady or sister, it's a better way. Like, you don't have to give up your child. Let me show you something different. And I'm willing, if I'm going to tell you to your face, I'm willing to help you personally, even if it is, let me get you some diapers. Let me put you in contact with somebody let me put you in contact with a nonprofit that helps women, in these situations of unplanned pregnancy. And that's what I think people should focus more on is like, how do we help one another? How do you help the young lady? How do you get them resources? How do you position them in a way in which they can say, okay, here is what it looks like to have the baby with support versus, getting rid of the baby.
Right. Again, not this I'll support you no matter what you choose, because that's not real compassion. Real compassion looks like, let me find some tangible ways to be able to help you. And Brandon, the most amazing thing is it doesn't take, a huge list of resources. You can be that one person. Be that one person that unlocks the courage in others to do the same thing. I often talk about the Ash conformity experiment. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Okay, so the Ash conformity experiment was a research project. Now, it was done long before Vitae Foundation was around, so you can't take credit for it. But I am a psychology major, so I do love a good psych study. But the idea was Dr. Solomon Ash, he brought in participants for the study, and he would have 5 participants for a round. Now, keep in mind, these guys didn't know each other. They were paid for their participation. He brought in 4 that were plants and 1 that was the subject of the study. And he would show them 2 cards. And on one card would be 3 lengths of line, a short, a medium one, and a long one. And they would be labeled A, B, C. On the other line was clearly a short line. You could clearly see that it matched A on this card, right? But he told those first 4 people in the room when they went around to give their answers to answer incorrectly, to answer C.
Mm,
And again, I have worked with former abortion workers, and they will tell you that if you tell a lie enough, you tend to believe that it's true. And that is social conformity, because when they went around the room, overwhelmingly, the participant in the study, as soon as it got to him and they had all said C, 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 even though he could clearly see that the answer was A, guess what he answered?
yeah, see.
C. He answered C, right? And so it became a really great example of somebody saying, I don't want to rock the boat. I'm just here to collect my paycheck and be out, right? Even peer pressure takes effect, and you don't know these people. But so many times in our society, that's how we got here, Brandon.
Yeah.
That's how we've got here, where again, some of this stuff is so normalized in our culture. Men think they don't have a say on this issue. They don't think they have a right to their child. Like, this is mind blowing. Like, if you really take a step back and think about it, that is insanity,
Yeah.
right? That's insanity that we have just surrendered to that. Like, we have men, you have surrendered to that. We as a culture have created that, but you have surrendered to that. And so the hopeful thing is, though, Solomon Ash wanted to show what would happen if just one other person in the room gave the correct answer. So when they went around the room, he had one person that was a plant to give the correct answer. So they'd go around the room and they would say C, which is the incorrect answer, C. He would have one person say A and then another person say C. And when it got to the participant in the study, they flipped. They
Mm,
said A. It took one person to unlock the courage, to give permission to someone else to do the right thing. And that's what we can do when we stand up and say, you know what? You told me that you're pregnant. I will help connect you. I will walk this out with you. It can be as high level, men, as high level as, I don't know what this looks like, but I'll help you be the best mom possible, and I'll be the best dad possible, and we'll figure this out together. And you know what? I know this personally, because a lot of people assumed that in order to be involved in this movement, that I must have my own pro-life story. They think I either had an abortion or an unexpected pregnancy, and I didn't have either of those. I
mm,
just believe in human dignity and human rights for everyone, based upon um, the fact that we all are entitled to that and shouldn't be discriminated against based upon our size, our location, our ethnicity, any of those things. Okay. I didn't have a pro-life story until I did.
mm.
And almost 2 years ago, I became a Grammy to an unexpected pregnancy. This sweet little girl who is the highlight of my life.
Mm.
And I cannot imagine life without her. But my son knew what to say. Now, I don't condone everything that got them right in this situation. You understand, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you're in this, when you're there, though, when you do the right thing, right? Amazing things can become of it. And they have since gotten married, and they have another sweet grandbaby for me on the way. life is good with them. Like they're doing the hard work. They're doing amazing things. And no, it wasn't easy, but he knew what to say in that moment. And again, it can be as high level as, I don't know what this looks like, but you're not alone. And young men, if you're watching this right now, just understand that's all it takes. You don't have to have all the pieces together, because another one of our findings from our study actually says that men do have this innate desire to provide and protect, which we know, but the emotion that is connected to that is fear of not being able to provide financially.
Mhm.
Okay. So there are some takeaways from that for us, because at Vitae Foundation, when we do this research, we're trying to understand the emotions behind it, but we also look then for the opportunity. How can we how can we utilize what we found out to be able to better the culture? So now we understand that the fear that they feel in that moment is a financial burden. They don't know how to navigate that. So we know that if we have some messaging that can help connect them with some financial resources or some financial assistance or even some coaching, that would help eliminate some of that potential obstacle that young men are facing. So again, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have, in fact, those of us that have had children, we know the house will never be big enough. The car will never be big enough. You will never have a big enough bank account for you to have more children. Like, that doesn't happen. So just step into the fact of lean into courage. And again, I hope you remember this conversation. We need you to protect us, and we certainly need you to protect our children.
I love that, Brandy. I swear that I'm like the Vitae Foundation research person, because I experienced everything that you said. I knew the right thing to say. I was committed. An incredible guy came out of nowhere, Mr. John Bardis. I say his name because he's such a tremendous guy. And John paid our rent. He mentored me. He was there for me, and he created in me the desire to help other people. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any money. I didn't know what it looked like. I said I just got to do my part, and I got to be held. I got to be accountable for the decisions I've made, and people came along and supported, and it ended up turning out to be just fine. And now my son is 15 years old. He's doing well. She's going on with her life, is doing really, really well. And look at God. And I really do believe that it's possible for people that are in these trying times and situations. And I'd say this, and then I'll let them, I want to tell them how they can support the Vitae Foundation. But if you feel like in a position where you don't know what to do, reach out to pregnancy centers. Reach out to other people that can mentor you. Don't give up. There's always a better way. And adoption is also an option as well, where you can give your child to a loving family that didn't have the opportunity to have children in the first place. So there's always a better way. Trust God. Two wrongs don't make a right. And Brandy, how can people go and support the Vitae Foundation if they want to get more information, or they would like to donate, or whatever the case may be?
It's VITAE Foundation.org. And Vitae is Latin for life. We get a lot of that to understand like what
Okay.
that word means. It's Latin for life. So it's VITAE Foundation.org. And we would love to have your support. These research studies do take funding, right? And it's all from private donors that step up and say, you know what can we do differently to change the culture? We have been fighting this battle for decades now, right? But no one has ever done a study exclusively on men and their emotions in that now moment. We are the first organization in the world who has
Wow.
done emotional research on this part of the equation. And you know what? It's sad that it's taken this long. It really is. And actually, I'm heartbroken in the fact that we haven't done it before, but the time is now. And now we need to take this messaging to more. And also, let me leave you with some more hope, is that one of the other findings that we had from this study is that men, no matter what kind of upbringing they had, whether they had a great dad or a terrible dad, they want to be a better dad than what they had before. Guys, that gives us so much hope. So much hope because men desire to be good fathers. We just have to equip and empower them to be able to do so. And again, this is a holistic approach. We focused on the baby for so long, and I know you guys know it if you've ever seen any of these sweet little heartbeat images and all of these things. And then we focused on the women because again, we've been told this is a woman's issue, and we do. Please hear my heart, especially women that have ever been in a coerced or in an abusive situation. I see you. I understand that not every man is a good man in your life, right? But also hear my heart that there are many good men that are out there that have been fighting for their children, or maybe are carrying guilt because they're listening right now and they're saying, I either didn't fight hard enough or I didn't know what to say. I thought saying, I'll support you no matter what you choose, were the right words. I thought they were the magic words. That's what I've been fed my whole life. Guys, when we know better, we do better, right? And so help us be able to get more research into people's hands so that we can all do better as a culture, and we can not just save more babies, but save more heartache and relationships and generations. We have the ability to do that. We just need some help.
Brandy, thank you so much. That was such a powerful ending to this. I have nothing else I need to say, but I do want people to know that I also support Vitae Foundation. I'm not just talking, I also give and support because I believe in it. So, Brandy Meeks, thank you so much. God bless you. God bless the Vitae Foundation. And I look forward to doing another interview. We need to follow up on this because there's so many more things that are going on, findings and some good success stories that I've seen at the Vitae Foundation. And I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody who listened in today. We're grateful for you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I told you it was a great interview. Some of y'all probably got tears in your eyes right now. But just know that God is with you. God will protect you. Do the right thing, and it'll all work itself out. All right, I love you guys. Appreciate you. I'll see y'all on the next one. We're out of here.